The James Webb Space Telescope, the world's most sophisticated space telescope, has again grabbed headlines. But for once, not for its stunning vistas of distant galaxies or ghostly whispers of cosmic birth. Instead, the world was rocked by an anomalous, encrypted and highly classified signal that came from outer space, transmitted via JWST's secure communications channels. This lone burst of data, innocuous in its short signal window, has ignited shockwaves throughout both scientific and defense circles globally. What started as a routine data gathering soon grew into one of the most enigmatic scientific occurrences of our time. First catalogued as normal telemetry from JWST instruments, the transmission happened during a routine scan of a far-off exoplanet system some 1,200 light-years from Earth. The telescope was performing an in-depth study of the atmosphere of so-called super-Earth orbiting in the habitable zone of its star, the kind of mission solidly within its remit to seek out potentially life-bearing worlds. But hidden in the gigantic data flow was something no one had anticipated, a narrowband signal pattern with no resemblance to any known natural astrophysical phenomenon. Initially, NASA experts thought about the likelihood of an instrumental malfunction or cosmic background noise interference. That was a possible explanation, as instruments of JWST's sensitivity are susceptible to data anomalies. However, after thorough examination, the anomaly proved to be something else. The signal had an organized series of pulses embedded within a mathematical progression, intentional, systematic, and clearly intelligent in nature. This finding instantly initiated a chain reaction of alerts within NASA. They worked feverishly to correlate the anomaly with recognized signal types, satellite reflections, cosmic flashes, and natural radio phenomenon. Every comparison returned the same: the pattern didn't belong. It was a statistical outlier screaming for attention, resistant to normal explanation. Within less than 2 days, the encrypted part of the transmission had been quarantined and protected within highest-level classified networks. It was not released to the public. Solid albeit unofficial reports indicate that NASA, the European Space Agency, and chosen private associates with advanced quantum decoding actually met in emergency, closed-door sessions. The real shock came when the analysts were able to follow the signal back to its origin. It had not originated from the exoplanet JWST was observing. Instead, the direction came much closer to home, from the far reaches of our own solar system, close to the theoretical edge of the Oort cloud. That area, a gossamer shell of frozen objects and comets encircling the solar system, has long been presumed to be inactive, dormant, and out of reach of detection. But JWST's unparalleled infrared sensitivity seemed to have picked up on something reflecting back from that desolate frontier. The implications were chilling. Was the origin of the signal a relay? A probe? An artifact left there on purpose at the edge of the solar system? As the data was being reconstructed, the investigation was broadened to involve DARPA and the European Defense Consortium. One of the first hypotheses was that the anomaly might have resulted from a malfunctioning satellite or piece of old deep space mission debris. That quickly went out the window. The pulses had modular, fractal-like patterns that not only exhibited recursive behavior but showed subtle reactivity when subjected to probing frequencies. That is, the signal reacted. It responded almost as if it were hearing. For generations, human efforts to search for extraterrestrial intelligence have focused on passive listening, monitoring the skies for intentional radio broadcasts from other civilizations. But this anomaly provided a much more challenging hypothesis. What if this was not a broadcast? What if it was a probe? An independent communication node? A secret artifact silently floating in the solar system, waiting to be recognized by someone who could detect it. The transmission contained no words, no pictures, no sound. It was mathematics. To the people decoding it, that was deeper than words alone. Mathematics is a language understood everywhere, a basis of reason above culture, biology, or world. That wasn't communication like humans had for conversation. It was a test. A call-and-response test. A breadcrumb, left behind in the cosmic den, waiting to be found by a sufficiently advanced mind to discern it for what it truly was. Within a few days, individual observatories worldwide quietly pointed their equipment towards the coordinates of the reflection. The pattern also began to manifest elsewhere. Radio telescopes at Australian facilities detected faint echoes. Neutrino detectors deeply buried beneath the Antarctic ice noted coincidental background irregularities. None of these detections were as explicit or interpretable as JWST's intercept, but they suggested consistency. Something out there was in operation. Not active like a star emitting energy or a comet scattering light, but active in the engineered sense, intentional, purposeful. And meanwhile, the official public account of JWST continued as before. Press releases only discussed breathtaking pictures of stellar nurseries, old galaxies, and exoplanetary atmospheres. But out of earshot, the globe's most influential institutions were captured by another discussion, one that challenged humans' presumption of cosmic loneliness. If this message was a trial, then someone, or something, had placed it for us to discover. Whether ancient or modern, its discovery could redefine not only science, but the very pillars of civilization's perception of itself in the universe. This finding sparked renewed arguments over the Fermi paradox, the renowned conflict between the immense likelihood of extraterrestrial life and the seeming lack of evidence for it. Perhaps, others speculated, the silence was never silence at all. Perhaps it was a game of waiting, a cosmic breadcrumb trail. Maybe the signal was only accessible to technology as sophisticated as JWST. If so, it was never designed for crude instruments or civilizations. It was created to wait until something advanced enough could finally observe. The possibilities of this were enormous. If this was an intentional probe, then Earth might have been under silent observation for much longer than we ever thought. The creepy possibility arose, had humankind already been observed? And had our recent technological advance into advanced space telescopes at last prompted a response? Weeks went by. Then months. No secondary transmission arrived. The signal was a one-time event, an ember in the emptiness. But its effects only intensified. Was it a time-release test, programmed to behave only upon viewing at a certain frequency? Was it an alive algorithm, biding its time to be engaged? Or was it something much older, a relic of a dead world, a mega-archive from another era sailing through millennia, responding barely at all to touch? Scientists started reanalyzing ancient data with a new sense of urgency. Voyager, Cassini, even the Hubble archives were searched for undetected anomalies. Trends once dismissed as noise were re-examined under new illumination. Hypotheses once confined to speculative science, like artificial constructions near the solar system's edge, now required rigorous assessment. Governments, normally secretive and defensive of their own discoveries, entered a rare period of cooperation. Classified information was shared on tight controls. For the first time ever, astrophysicists, cryptanalysts, and theoretical mathematicians globally were called upon not to observe galaxies or black holes, but to decipher a single quiet message that may have lain in wait for millions of years. The find compelled humanity to grapple with questions it had long dodged. Was this signal evidence of spying? Had our world been subject to a silent watch? Was this a product of cosmic quarantine, intended to gauge if humanity had attained the awareness threshold before contact was granted? And if so, what comes next? The philosophical implications were every bit as deep as were the scientific. If it was never intended that the transmission was easily discovered, what else lies hidden in the universe, to be discovered? Was this an isolated anomaly, or the first crumb in a long trail which would ultimately lead to contact? If it was a test, was it one already passed by humanity, or was the ensuing silence an indication that more was needed? The reaction on Earth was quick. Investment in quantum computing and AI-driven signal analysis shot up. Next-generation telescopes were reprioritized, with missions previously focused on planetary exploration now reassigned to deep space listening. Even Mars, the long-hyped destination of human exploration, lost temporary status as the top priority to the new frontier of deep space. The hunt for life no longer seemed a solitary vigil. For the first time, it appeared that humanity had joined into a conversation, quiet, mysterious, but inescapable. JWST might have intercepted the first sign of an intelligence beyond our own. Not in the form of a great interstellar broadcast. Not in the shape of flying saucers or alien tourists. But through a cryptic mathematical puzzle, buried deep within the cosmic static, found only because the right instrument, at the right moment, pointed in the right direction. Whether its creator is ancient or continuous is never to be known. But one thing is now chillingly certain: human beings have been observed. And the silence that ensues is not necessarily the absence of a response, but the deepest test of all.